So this section is something that it was my idea to introduce this section because we have innumerable questions that come from people. So there are few of the topics which we will be discussing here. These are people who work very closely with me as volunteers, and I guide them. Plus, they do a lot of the work for KBUF, running around and everything. So let's start. This is Setu, this is Pavan, this is Isha.
Thank you, sir, for doing this. So here we want to just ask some of the questions that many people have emailed us or have reached out to us and wanted to get clarity on.
Yeah.
So one of the common questions that comes is, you have given through your videos multiple sadhanas related to Om Bhairavaya Namaha, Batuka Bhairava, Skanda, 60-day Maa Tara Sadhana, 42-day KBA Sadhana. A lot of sadhanas you have advised and asked people to do. So one of the common questions that comes is, since there are a lot of sadhanas that we want to do, is it necessary that we should do all these sadhanas, or what are the things that one should focus on? How do I know that these are the sadhanas that I should be focusing on daily? And how do we differentiate between them, and what should I do daily? So that is the common question that comes because people don't know how to do the structure the Nitya sadhana that they want to do.
Okay. So this is just now, as I was telling, you need to have a Nitya Upasana. Nitya Upasana is the devatas that you worship on a daily basis. When I put up a video, there are two things. One is that there is a certain amount of Nitya Upasana, which means if you are participating in the Vishesh Sadhanas, so you should ideally be doing some amount of Bhairava Japa. Then there is a Krama of the Bhairava Japa. First you start with Om Bhairavaya Namaha. Eventually you go to Vatuka Bhairava. There is the Kal Bhairava for the longer Anushthan that I had mentioned. Kamakhya Stotram, and the Maa Tara Sadhana, which is of the 16 Thursdays. Now these sadhanas, which are 16 Thursday sadhana, is a longer one. Along with it, you can do other things also. There's no problem. So Nitya Upasana is something that, first of all, you decide based on the amount of time you can spend per day. Say if you can spend about 1 hour, 1.5 hours time. So in these core devatas, whose Vishesh sadhanas you're doing, you should be doing a little bit of that every day. And then on the Vishesh sadhana tithi, you should do more of that sadhana because that is given at a larger format. So this is the same thing that you're doing. First you are doing a Nitya, and then you are doing a Naimittika, which is on the Vishesh tithis. So that together creates a greater power in the Devata Upasana. Apart from this, there are at times videos that I might have put on, say, on Devi Pratyangira and others. Those are not to be done every day. Those are only on specific circumstances and situations. Depends on the person to person. Or even there is a video I did on Ma Baglamukhi, I think. Those are... So, Nitya Upasana, focus on the devatas whose Vishesh sadhana you are doing. Those are the deities whose Nitya Upasana you should do. Even if it's a little bit, depending on how much time you have per day, you do that. Along with it, you do the Vishesh sadhanas. And then when you get time, do more elongated anushtans of those devatas. Apart from this, whether it is the, and eventually in future also there are some other forms or some other more complicated, not very complicated, but sadhanas with specific aims that I might put up. Those are not to be done randomly for everybody. It depends that you see if your situation demands that. If you think that there is some kind of a necessity of this sadhana, then you can do it one off time. You need not do it every day. But Nitya is basically those sadhanas which are done in, whose Vishesh sadhanas you participate in. And I think in the website, whether it's already there or I think a team is working on putting up a basics of the Nitya sadhanas of the devatas whose Vishesh sadhanas are performed by lots of people through KBUF. Yeah.
Joy Maa Tara. Sir, when a person is born into a Sampradaya, let's take an example like Vaishnava or Jain, and he has natural inclination towards Bhairava or Ugra Devatas such as Maa Tara, Maa Kali. What is the best approach for this?
When you are born into a certain Sampradaya, so these first thing that has happened is over periods of time, which is, I guess, natural as the course of time progresses. So the karmas and gunas are all mixed up. So because it becomes very complicated over births and rebirths of souls, there will be souls who may be born into a certain family because of certain karmas with certain individuals of that family. However, their upasana may have been something else in past life. So then what happens is you may be born into say a Vaishnava family and have an inclination for Shakti upasana. You may be born into a Shaiva family, you have an inclination for Vaishnava upasana. Anything is possible. And it is very rampant and very common these days, by the way. So here my advice is that in the family that one is born, in the kula, which is the pradhana devata whose worship happens, at least when major festivals of the deity happen, then that individual should participate, even if it is a very customary participation. On the other hand, there is no harm in worshipping some other deity whom he or she may have an inclination towards. But what should not be done is that to completely ignore the devata who runs prominent in the family or the kula that one is born in. You cannot completely ignore, then it can accrue certain doshas. So basic idea is that at least once a year. So eventually this is how the Kula Devata forms, because Kula Devata is a deity that whose blessings have been in the family for generations, and more prominently a Kula Devata becomes very intense in a family if there is at least one individual in the ancestors who had attained success in the sadhana of the deity. That is a very big thing, by the way. If one individual attains success in the sadhana of a deity, then it changes a lot of things for that family. So there is an expectation, because a devata upasana is a very tough thing succeeding. All Hindus are worshipping some of the other deities, that's all right. But to succeed is a very different thing. When you succeed in the sadhana and the devata actually communicates or has a communion and you attain to higher states of the sadhana, then the energy of the deity is not going to go away so easily with that individual. It will still be there in that kula, in that family. It is then advised, for example, that the future generations of that family, the next generations of that particular individual, should also worship that deity, if not daily, at least in the naimittika manner. If not Nitya, then Nimittika. Nimittika is either once a month, or in some families once in 6 months, if there's a major utsava that is done once a year, something like that. Ignoring that completely causes doshas, and it will lead to certain material problems also in the family. So my advice is that for somebody who has an inclination for a certain devata, but that is not the deity that is there in the family, so that indicates two things. A, he or she might have been worshipping that deity in past lives, especially if doing little bit of sadhana of this devata produces faster results or experiences, then you can be reasonably certain that that individual might have worshipped that deity in the past life. So you worship this in the Nitya format, Upasana, but once in a while the family deity also needs to be pleased, even if it is a little bit of customary sadhana, which is like once in 6 months or once in 3 months, or if there is a utsava that done for the devata in the family, one should participate in that. You should not completely cut out, because roots are very important. An individual, a soul, is what it is at any given point, whether it is in the spiritual manner or the material manner, only because of things that it had done in the past. So some link is also there with that family. That is why an individual is born in that family. So this is the way to juggle it. And of course, don't go into fights about this, because I've seen that also happening in families where somebody has an inclination for Shakti Upasana, others have an inclination for something else. So that little bit of juggling has to be done. But yes, see, if you have been doing worshipping, if a individual has been worshipping a certain deity very strongly and that bond has been created, so wherever you are born, whichever condition, eventually the deity is going to pull you back, and that you cannot fight what is there already in the Purva Samskara. It is going to happen. So there you have to do a little political juggling. You do this also, you do that also, without causing too much of world words around. So that's how you go about it.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, firstly, there's a lot of gratitude coming in for the 16th Thursday Sadhana. Many people, many males have benefited from it. And there are some questions regarding the sadhana. First one of it is, how and what makes this sadhana so powerful?
That's the question. Maa Tara is very powerful. So whatever way you connect with her, even if a fraction of a blessing comes, it can change your life. So that the question answers itself. But on a more serious note, so I was doing a Anushthan of Maa Tara when it came very strongly that this sadhana paces the mantra of Tara in a very subtle manner, so that more or less means when I say, see, one thing you have to understand, that there is no, people look at sadhana from a very transactional point of view, and which is how our minds are. कि मैंने ये किया तो क्या फ़ायदा हुआ, उधर किया तो क्या फ़ायदा हुआ, which is fine. So that फ़ायदा thing in the mind has to be looked at statistically. What I mean by that is there is absolutely no sadhana or any process for that matter in the world which can totally magically vanish all problems for every single individual for end of time. हो ही नहीं सकता है. It doesn't work. So what you or anybody else, or what, when a good sadhana is there, when a deity's blessing is there, is when a particular sadhana is given and you see that it's significant number of people, at least 60-70% or more, get some positive benefit, direction, guidance, and orientation of life towards a positive frame, then you know that there is definitely some blessing of the deity. So this sadhana was, it's very simple in the sense that mantram of Maa Tara, I've spoken of it earlier also. It is not the standard mantra of Maa Tara. The standard is a panchakshari, there is a mantra, and there are many other 8 pradhana mantras of Tara comes to us from the tantras. Each of them are different formats of, there's a first mantra of Panchakshari that there's a change in that mantra, then she becomes Neela Saraswati, she becomes Ekajata, then there is Mahogra Tara mantra, then there are mantras which tantras say that Brahma had used to worship Maa Tara, Vishnu has used to worship Maa Tara, Shiva has used to worship Maa Tara. So kramas of mantras are there of Tara. All of them are extremely potent and powerful. But this particular mantra comes from the Rudrayamal Tantra, and it is found only in the Tara Pratyangira Kavacham. And it is all as good as a Nama mantra, closest thing to a Nama mantra, because other mantras of Tara have a lot of Vijas, and that interaction of Vijas creates that specific energy. So this, when 16 malas are done for 16 Thursdays, it creates a it brings a blessing of Brihaspati into that person's individual's life. And that is why I say that when you're doing this sadhana, it is ideally best done if you can finish the japa during when the sun is up. Of course, if you cannot do, then you do it afterwards. But fasting is important. Doing it when the sun is up is important. If you can do it early morning, even better, in my opinion. Before 12, if you can finish that. 5 things to be offered. These 5 are anukalpas of the actual Panchatattva. Because whenever you are worshipping Bhagavati Tara, the Panchatattvas are traditionally offered. But what we want is something that is like a nimitta of those 5 tattvas. So 5 different things are offered to Maa Tara, which could be anything. Even 5 flowers are fine if you don't have other things possible. So, and then you do this japa and you follow it for 16 Thursdays. And if you have a specific dharmic desire in mind, don't ask something absurd, then it is your responsibility. Then dharmic desire in mind, and if you keep doing it, she will give you a path forward, because there is no form of the Divine Mother who guides. She's a fierce guide, because she's Ugra Tara also. Ugra, the name has 2 meanings. She's fierce, but also it means that somebody who can take you out of fierce problems. I have in my life, whenever I have had difficult situations, there are 2 deities I go to. One is Vatuka Bhairava, is the first travel, and then there is Maa Tara. When her sadhana I have done for any kind of problems, I have never seen a situation where a solution has not come. Solution is her domain. You cannot ask for कि I want ये वो, ऐसा नहीं. All those will not work. She will do what is best. If you have the courage and the tenacity to stick to that result, then eventually over time you will see that it brings a lot of benefit and it brings a lot of transformation, positive orientation. So that is why this sadhana is powerful.
So there are a few follow-up questions as well.
Yeah.
One is that say we miss one Thursday, so do we start from the beginning? And the second is, what if we eat by mistake and break our fast? Genuine answer.
So both are the same question. So fasting is integral part of this sadhana. The kind of fasting is on the individual, but you should avoid solid food till the sun rises. And there are some people who do it even more strictly, which means they don't drink water also, which is wonderful if you can do that, but it's not compulsory. If it gets broken, if you have eaten, then you restart the sadhana. Actually, this is a very easy sadhana if you look at it. Just 16 malas have to be done. It doesn't take that much amount of time. Just 5 things have to be done. Quickly in the morning, take a bath, sit down, finish that sadhana. Throughout the day, don't eat anything. After sunset, eat whatever. Simple sadhana, but 16 Thursdays has to continue. So the whole point is, it's being stressed is patience. It's not like quickly and the reactions, and this sadhana has a very interesting power which does not come if you were to do 1 lakh japa. I know of cases where I had advised this to somebody. A person had done a lot of sadhana of other mantras, and they thought that it's too easy. I just do 1 lakh japa of the Tara mantras. Very good. 1 lakh japa they did, and then full tandav started. Then once it starts, then you face it. There's no easy way out. But this paces the energy correctly. And it gives you, it's like a focus in your mind. Okay, Thursday is coming, I prepare for it. All that is also a part of the sadhana. It's not just the mantra japa. Ensuring that reverentially you follow that path, which means that before that you decide, okay, Thursday is coming, this is the time the sun rises, this time the sun sets, I'm not going to eat anything. In between you'll have your work, office, traveling, etc., whatever else is there. In spite of that, you have to be conscious of it. The moment you are consciously following the rules, you are already doing the sadhana. And it is not just those 16 malas, by the way. Okay. So these things, if you make a mistake, it's not that it's a crime, but you have to restart.
So one more question that commonly comes is, you have given lot of, again, through the videos, lot of mantras and everything. Can we consider these as an Upadesham from you? And can people consider you as their Manasik Guru and continue their sadhana?
This the standard question that has been coming from God knows when. Yes, if that makes you happy, please go ahead. Okay, no problem with that. So these mantras, when I give these sadhanas, again, when it say, take the example of Maa Tara. From last year, right now, before even coming today in this session, right from, these people will be aware, from morning till 6-7 hours of my sadhana goes on. So until I finish my sadhana, I don't step out. Whatever work may be there, because actually that is what makes me the happiest. Just sitting down in my space, in my puja room, in front of the deities I love, doing their sadhana, because that's absolutely blissful. Then you, at that moment, you think that there's nothing else is needed in the world. That itself is the greatest benefit of sadhana, in my opinion. Because all sadhanas, when they produce positive results, that is good. But life is like that. Someday it will be good, someday it will be bad, and there is no cure for this. This is why samsara is like that. But you can still be happy. Whatever is happening externally, fine. Internally, you can be in a happy state, and that is in your control always, and that is what the devatas can take you. This mantram of Maa Tara is so blissful. Over the last 1 year, I performed almost 4 or 5 different mantra anushtans of Purushan of Maa Tara's mantras. Been doing. It produces, if you keep doing this sadhana, and don't do it just once. I know people who have been doing, I think, who are in the 3rd or 4th iteration of this 16 Thursday sadhana. So 16 Thursday gets over, then you complete the sadhana, you tell Maa Tara that I've completed it. You can go to any temple close by. If you can, Tarapit is far off, but she becomes everything. She's Durga, she's Chamunda, she's Kali, she becomes everything. She becomes Parashakti in that Swarupa. And then you can start again. So as you keep doing, she rearranges your life into a direction that will be helpful for you. So these sadhanas that I give, I very often have done that or do that, and not just me, I make people close to me whom I actually guide. I make them do the sadhanas, and that gives me a better clarity that what is the exact result, because I can monitor them, I can see what results are coming, etc., like that. So these can be taken as Upadeshams and done. There is no problem with that. Complicated mantras of Maa Tara, I avoid giving out in public, whether it's YouTube video or anywhere else. I will not speak those mantras out until there are people who do those. I guide them into that, but it comes as krama. It is not like immediately. There's somebody who has done almost 8-9 lakhs japa of the main mantra of Maa Tara, etc., with certain puja paddhati. So when you do that type of japa, you need to know the puja paddhati. You need to know, you must have that type of in-depth reverence for the Devi, for that Swarupa of Ma. You have to understand her nature clearly. And again, circling back to the first point, all this is possible if Bhairava blesses you. Bhairava blesses you, you are fit to worship any form of Devi. This is the original krama of sadhana. He is the adhara, he is the foundation, he is the soil. And the Mahavidyas are like beautiful plants and trees that grows. Until the soil has the right composition, the right texture and the right energy, it will not be able to hold the energy of these great and beautiful trees and plants in the Mahavidyas and the Shaktis.
So, sir, there's also a lot of curiosity related to meditation. Most people ask, be meditating or is it hallucination? And you've also mentioned that mantra sadhana, once it reaches a higher level, it actually should lead you to dhyana. So when does one know one is actually doing genuine dhyana, or is it something in the mind?
So if you have this question that am I doing dhyana or not, obviously you're not doing dhyana. You will. So it is like that. If it is there, you will know. There's no doubt about that. So there is a very beautiful sloka that I think, I don't remember which tantra it was, but the gist of that is that better than puja is stuti. Better than stuti is mantra japa. Better even than mantra japa is dhyana. If you are able to do that, I am adding, because so dhyana is something like either you can do or you cannot do. My sincere advice would be, don't stress about it. Why am I not able to do dhyana? The spiritual reason for not being able to do dhyana is very simply, there's a cloud of karmas that are there in the subtle body of the individual that will not let your mind rest easily. And as I said, nature or Mahakal, whatever name you want to call that great being, is an accountant. Full hisab will be done. Until the time is there when the karmas have to be reduced. When the karmas get reduced, organically dhyana starts. Nothing needs to be told. Nobody needs to give you any specific technique. And by the way, when we say that there are hundreds of techniques of meditation, all of them work and none of them work. It all depends on the individual. So my suggestion would be, don't bother too much about dhyana, why is it not happening, etc. In fact, when dhyana becomes very deep, see, when dhyana is not happening, then life will be very smooth. Once dhyana becomes deep, dhyana is actually like a thermometer. It is a sign that something else is happening. And what is that something else? A, your karmas have been reduced. B, immediately in your mind, your attachment to everything else will go off. C, there will be certain manifestations of the Kundalini Shakti. And I don't mean all those dancing and all that types of here, but something very genuine and authentic. When Kundalini reaches a certain stage, it's like this. The mind, see, there are two ways of actually getting to higher stages of sadhana. The mind is the most interesting and the powerful tool that we have as human beings through evolution. And mind is the only blockage, because your mind is running here and there. So there are two ways. One is that you stop the mind. Again, very difficult thing. I'm just saying, suppose somebody is able to, it's like dropping a curtain. In certain moments, suddenly it will drop. Like a very still lake. You're standing in front. Suddenly the water becomes still. And you forget that the water exists. And your vision is right down to the bottom. Then you see something that is very transformative. You feel something that is transformative. Your Panchatattwas get overwhelmed, because the mind is the apparatus through which you're taking in the world. It has dropped its function. That takes a person to the state of Advaitam. And it is, of course, not easy at all. The second option, which the Tantras say, it also says that the mind is the problem. So it says that no, we don't kill the mind. We don't completely vanish the mind. We transform the mind. We make the mind into a divine mind. Divine mind means your mind becomes like a manifestation of the mantra. Your mind becomes the devata. So you are seeing from the perspective of the deity whom you are worshipping. And all deities, the first thing is that the mind, there's a steadiness in the mind. There's a lack of striving. One of the key features of human beings is that we strive. I want this, I want that, I want some good result, I want some good meditation, I want this. So that striving, that desire is there. And there is no fulfillment of the desire because nature is very smart. Hisab has to be done. And then there is sorrow because it's not getting fulfilled. A mind that has transformed or a mind that has dropped down has no cheshta, no desire, no striving. It is absolutely steady and self-fulfilled in that condition. That is also the state of the Devata. Deities don't suffer from this problem of mujhe ye chahiye kyun nahi mil raha hai. That is our problem. So either way, when either of these two things happen, then that state is what we call dhyana. So it is not like I aim for dhyana. What you aim for is that reducing the karmas. Karma reduces, mind automatically becomes very steady. Dhyana will automatically start. This is the way to go about it. And there is no forced way of dhyana. Forced way dhyananas don't work. See, there are two, not just Advaita, even the yogic path and the tantric path, the mantra upasana, devata upasana have two things. One is that in the yogic path you control the body and the breathing. By controlling the breathing, you control the mind. You are still aiming for the same thing. Either the mind has to become still and steady and vanish, or it becomes transformed into an enlightened mind. It's like the mind of, and I think the Buddhists call it the mind of the Vajra. It's a very different type of mind. Okay. And or by worshipping the Devata through the mantra, when you're doing the japa, you're worshipping, that's also a seva of the Devata. The mind becomes very steady and the mind calms and transforms slowly from the human mind into a divine mind. Both of these, whether the mind exists or it becomes divine, it has one specific quality. It does not run around very easily. It becomes very steady, very still, very sthita. It is accepting of reality as it is. It is not always trying to change things. Why is it like that? Why like that? Why am I not getting it right? This whole thing works around in our subtle body because the karmas are like that. So there's no point feeling guilty about not being able to meditate. Rather, do the sadhanas, pray to the deities, develop patience. Patience is more important than this. Meditation will automatically come to you if you have patience. Eventually. That eventually is important.
Sir, next question is a very common question.
Yes, please tell me.
When a person does lot of sadhana, it is said that the person's natural tendencies such as anger, lust increases. What is your advice or insights on this?
No advice. Carry on sadhana. Okay. This is because there is, again, these are very fundamental questions which people have been asking for 5,000 years. There is no easy way out of this. So why this happens, I'll tell you. Why happens is very simple. So your mind and body is the adhara. That is the vessel that you have. Every mantra that you're doing, every practice that you're doing is increasing the natural capacity, the shakti that is there in the adhara. There is a certain degree till which your body can take the shakti. After that, whatever little shakti comes, it will try to spill out of the adhara. And that spilling out happens either through bursts of anger or lust or any which way. So, I think I did mention this once somewhere. I can't recall now. There are 3 stages of Shakti Upasana. One is generation of Shakti. Number 2, assimilation of Shakti, digesting that power, Shakti. Number 3, application of the Shakti. But the world has become full ulta, so people go to application right on day 1 and God knows what happens. But the original krama is like this. So generating the Shakti is actually the easier part. As you are doing sadhana, it is generating Shakti. How do you hold that Shakti? That is where discipline comes into the picture. Discipline first in your external lifestyle, then internal discipline. External lifestyle discipline is basically where if your sadhana is working, first thing you will see is that it is going to rearrange the people around you. ये हो ही नहीं सकता कि before sadhana the same set of friends I'm hanging out with, 10 साल बाद doing the same thing that I was doing, it will not work. It doesn't work that way actually. Your perspective, your consciousness changes inside, and then automatically the devata will remove some people here and there who may be detrimental to your sadhana. Whether you like them or not is irrelevant. So a discipline is to be formed. Discipline in what time you're doing your sadhana. Okay, Nitya sadhana you're doing every day, you will sit. Somebody comes, okay, why you want to do sadhana? Let's go out, like that. Then you say, no, I'll finish it. Discipline is already starting. Discipline in food is very important. Discipline in the company you keep is important. and these will be not externally imposed. So yeah, externally imposed is possible if you live close to a guru and a guru is very strict, authoritarian, and purane zamane mein hota tha. In this age, you have to do it yourself. So you set your own boundaries. What are the rules that helps to protect this energy? Okay, so that discipline is what helps integrating of that Shakti into the mind and body. In spite of that, there will be spilling out of the Shakti. There will be anger, there will be this and that. Those are perfectly all right. There's nothing to worry. If it becomes too heavy, you pray to the same deity whom you are worshipping and tell them that this is the problem I'm facing. I'm not able to control this. Can you please help me? If you worship, he or she will give you a solution. There is another thing when it comes to anger, there is another thing. Say Bhairava, we know the Swarupa of Bhairava as fierce. There's the anger aspect of Bhairava is also there. It's undeniable because he comes out of Shiva and takes off Brahma's head. The anger of a deity, whether it's Bhairava, whether it's Kali, is a divine anger. It's not human anger. It is an anger in which they have control. We lose control in anger, they don't lose control. They have that innate state of control till the last moment, and it will happen to Upasakas also eventually. Which means that you reach a state of detachment where at the end you know that when exactly is the point where you must be angry, to what degree, and then you pull it back, and it is never in a very vindictive sense or for a personal grudge. It happens for a larger cause. Is that going to benefit something? When he cuts off Brahma's head, after that Brahma, initially with the 5 heads, is basically that story is metaphorical of an individual who is stuck in the normal mundane life. Mundane life is exactly this. I get up in the morning, I go to office, I meet friends, I meet relatives, I come back, I repeat, go on and on and on and on. Anything else? A little bit, some puja part here is going, I'll go there, put some flowers, come back. Bas, life is happy. So this cycle that goes on and on and on and on is like a self-created, that's something you have created by your own karmas. So you become Brahma. We don't worship Brahma because there's nothing interesting to worship about myself. The things we are reacting to life anyway. Then suddenly Bhairava comes in, he cuts off one head, and immediately you see that there is something much larger to life than this cycle, than this repeat cycle. So that divine anger is something that has a purpose, that eventually benefits, and there is no lingering. Human anger is like this. Arey, isne mere ko ye bola, 3 months, 10 years later also you remember that. Okay, that is all human business. Deities' angers are like this. In one shot it works. It benefits whoever is the recipient of that anger also. That's the beauty. That's why they are gods. And then there is no carrying forward of anything, no bitterness involved in it. There is no bitterness, there is no cruelty. Bitterness and cruelty are adharma. Internal states these two are manifestations of adharma. Anger is fine. You have enough number of stories where gods have destroyed asuras and all that. But at the same time, see in the Shiva Purana where Shiva pins Andakasura starts singing his paeans. Till now there is so much of fight happening. But the moment he is doing stuti, Shiva calms down and he makes him into a gana. Had it been an ordinary jo, nahi, tumne us din wo bola tha, abhi to nahi hoga, theek hai. It doesn't work that. So deities don't function that way at all. They carry no bitterness, not even for the asura whom they're destroying. That is what is dharma.
So can we then say in a way that the tattva or the swabhava of the devata also manifests in the upasaka also, but since we are at a very basic stage, the anger and everything is manifesting, but the higher stages, as what you have explained, it will manifest in that way, sir?
To a degree, the nature of the upasaka will manifest even over time. But most cases, it also transforms the individual. And my advice is, if somebody is finding it difficult because of whether there is so there are two aspects. One is anger and one is lust. Anger manifestations do happen with Ugra Swarupa Devatas. In that case, pray to the deity to be able to control it, and you will see most of the cases, he or she gives you the power. Not just Bhairava. If you worship Ma Kali, anger is going to come. Her anger is even more fierce. Then he or she is the one who gives you the power to control that anger, to pull it back. at the right moment, and eventually you reach a stage where you become so conscious of yourself internally that you notice the moment when the anger is actually rising, and you can then choose either to manifest it or to remove it also, and that not on day one, it comes much later. So far as lust is concerned, it doesn't matter which deity you worship, it is going to get ruffled up for everybody. There is a certain biological rhythm for a certain period of time when this happens, and then eventually it will taper down. What is important is that do not get into guilt trip about these things. Ki, "Arey, ye ho gaya, wo ho gaya." Don't bother to guilt trip about these things, because this is something, take it that everybody will go through these. Everybody, whether they tell you or not, doesn't matter. Everybody will go through this. It's not a big deal. It's not a crime. It's absolutely normal and human. And after a certain stage of life is crossed, all these things will come under control. So all nature has its hisab. Nature does a very mechanical hisab, and nature, until that hisab is completed, it is not going to let you go, and no deity is going to remove all these things in day one. Take it for granted. Like I tell people, again coming to lust, there are certain instances where many of these things are not even manifestations of the individual. There could be certain doshas that are there in the family, certain doshas that could otherwise be there, which manifest to these things, anger, lust and all this. So the Devata Upasana whom you are doing, say Bhairava you are doing, or any other deity, they are not going to go and remove that dosha so easily for you. Because first principle of nature is that you are facing something because you did something somewhere, whether you remember or not. That faith you must have, because that is how our whole philosophy is designed. That is, and you realize it later when you go at a very high stage. So just praying in order, because this does not happen so easily. That is why we say that during the Pitru Bhaksha, you worship the Pitrus, you satisfy the Pitrus. You don't worship them, you satisfy them, so that there's no doshas left. If there is a Sarpa dosha, then you do the Sarpa dosha pariharam, whatever is needed, or any other issues there. Because your Ishta Devata, howsoever much you may feel meditative about it, etc., these doshas are not individualistic. Remember, they are connected to people who are also connected to you. So it may be something that is running in the family, that may be something that multiple people are facing. So if it is removed, it means it is being removed from all the people. So why do you think the deity is going to take everybody's responsibility? It is not going to happen. It doesn't happen. That is why these are also given.
So, sorry, one more follow-up question
Yeah.
on this, sir. So, when you say Pitru's karmas is manifesting in our life, so why is somebody else, my grandfather or my great-grandfather's karma is manifesting in my life when I have not done anything? Like, why is it?
No, there is no question of you have not done. Everybody has done something. You don't remember. That's it. So that's principle number one. So very often, when somebody has severe Pitru dosha, severe amount of Pitru dosha that hampers something, very often it is the same soul who was responsible for whatever karma that was done. Nature makes sure that you come back and you face it. There is no, absolutely no system in nature where somebody else did something, mere ko kyun aaya? Sawal hi nahi hai. Take it for granted. If it is coming to you, then you are the culprit. Okay. Then after that, you think that how do I get out of it? And nature is very, very beautiful. I find nature is the greatest guru. So nature doesn't answer questions. You can go on top of the Himalayas and ask कि मेरे ऊपर क्यों हो रहा है, कोई जवाब नहीं देगा. It doesn't care. It will keep carrying on what it has to carry on till the time it has to carry on. And when the hisab is proper, it will say now you are relieved. Even if then you cry कि मेरे को नहीं और चाहिए, तो नहीं देने वाला है. So nature works on action. Nature believes in action, but you do have the capacity to a degree you can change this through the path of sadhana. That is the whole basic principle of upasana. Questions are done?
Yes, sir.
One more question, last question.
Yeah,
sir.
ask.
So one more question that commonly comes is regarding nimittas and intuitions, and people see certain things in homa or fire, etc. So what is your opinion on this? Like, I see this devata or I got this nimitta. So is it true or not? Like, what is your opinion on this, sir?
No, there are two things. One is nimitta. Nimitta is correct. Means if you know how to judge a nimitta. Not everything is a nimitta. Every crow flying is not a nimitta. It's just a crow. But sometimes a crow flying can be a nimitta. So nimittas are there, but your mind has to be calm, steady, and not rush forward looking for an answer. So very often what happens is we think कि ये मेरे को चाहिए answer, तो you configure some convoluted nimitta, which doesn't happen, no confirmation of that comes from reality. Shapes in fire, that is another business. So there my opinion is that when I do homas, if I'm doing a homa and if somebody takes a video of the homa for 10 minutes and then you give a very smart editor, कुछ ना कुछ तो दिखेगा, ठीक है? And that goes for everybody. You take 10 minutes video and you make some idhar udhar cut shot idhar something or the other, and if you're very good you can see multiple deities also, ठीक है? So my personal opinion is that I don't take that very seriously. If a devata actually manifests, they are very good in modifying the Pancha Mahabhuta Tattvas around you. They will give you multiple confirmations. It is never going to be that I am seeing a shape in the fire, but बाकी आगे पीछे कुछ नहीं हुआ, हो ही नहीं सकता है. They will give you. In fact, imagine this: if you were born 500 years ago, when there is no camera, no video, तो कहाँ पे मतलब if it's only in fire, nobody can see anything. तो devata manifest ही नहीं होगा. So imagine that. So the nimittas are important. So basically, when you are doing homas, the atmosphere, the presence of animals, sounds, etc., all this together, not one thing, together they will create a picture, and that will tell you the will of the deity. And they are very, very capable of making sure that you understand what they want to say. Never underestimate what a devata can do. If they want you to know this, they will make sure that you know this. You don't have to do all that jugglery on the homa fire. Dikh raha hai ki nahi dikh raha hai. So my suggestion is that, with all due respect to whosoever likes watching videos of homas and finding deities, carry on. That's a good pastime. But focus on other nimittas also. थोड़ा इधर उधर दिखेगा तो तब at the end of the day something has to happen concrete. I'm very happy if I see shapes. Why only fire? You can see in clouds also. If you just stand like that, you can see some deities blessing from there and all that. Good. But until that translates into something concrete, it's just your guess, my guess. Like,
Thank you, sir.